Hey YouTube, it's your boy McStagger here, and welcome to my 3D modeling project that I've been working on for the past week or so, and that's why you haven't been seeing a lot of videos. So I'm coming to you with a video on the process that I've been going through and hopefully curate some creativity, ingenuity, or even some interest in this sort of thing, 3D modeling. I won't be showing this ugly face here. Shoot! When you're 3D modeling, you have to start somewhere. Either it be an idea, a reference, or even just a straight up import of whatever you want to model. As for me, I used a combination of my idea to create my Renaissance Fair costume out of a 3D printed material, and to do that I wanted to model it myself, as the models I could not find online. So I wanted to just make them myself and to challenge my ability and skill for 3D modeling. And so that's why I'm here. So the idea was to start modeling the shield. I'm not going to show you the sword because I've already made that, and look forward to a video of me swinging it around like an idiot. But for this video, I'm going to walk you through step by step of each process, and what I've done and what the idea was and what I learned even. So stick around and find out what happens. So when I was first starting this out, I wanted to import an image of what I wanted to make, and so that image was the shield that I wanted to replicate. And that shield was the one that I got off of my Dilbert character that I showed in a separate video. And from there, it was just a matter of outlining the shape of the shield and then outlining the railing, or just straight up outlining the shield to match its form as I lofted each profile or shape that I have made. As you see here, the lofting process of going from one shape to another, and I am just sort of working it through to make it fit the image of the shield much better. And so now that's how it's done, is just you make two profiles, either it be a triangle, square, circle, whatever. The software just takes the two shapes and then connects them as easy as possible. But you can also use rails, which I use the outlining of the shield to use as a railing, so that the loft knew what path to follow when producing that model. So I continued to do this throughout the modeling process, as it was the easiest and best way to create these complex like shapes. And I also wanted to create a rail system so that I knew that it was following the outline of the shield. So I wanted to outline both the back side of the shield and the front side of the shield so that it could get a depth to it alongside of the shape. So that's what you see me doing here, is just trying to get a good feel of the shape and then outlining the rest of the shield so that I have it ready for when I do the rest of my shapes and then lofting process. Initially, I was not aware of this feature that Fusion 360 is, which is the modeling software that I am using. It is actually a free software for those interested in wanting to use it, and I was not aware that you could mirror 3D objects through a plane. So what you saw me do there earlier is actually just try and mirror the lines on both sides. Later on, I will actually delete those lines on the other side and then just use the lofting mirror feature to mirror one side to the other, which made the modeling process a lot easier, as I was trying to keep to symmetry when creating the shield. And as you can see here, I have already outlined the outside of the shield so that I have my rails ready to perform my lofts. I even created a final profile for me to loft to in the end so that I could have it there as as a final stopping point. And then this was a bit of a trouble for me, was trying to figure out a loft here. It was trying to figure out the shape and the depth, because it was a complex issue, as it was like trying to figure out how to angle it, and then trying to angle the loft and angling the rest of the part to make it fit to the background image, as you have been seeing throughout this video. And then it was another difficulty to match this as I continued to loft from one profile to the next, as you can see that I am just trying to have an easy time doing this, but doing depth without really any actual depth in the image. You just sort of have to eyeball it and then just sort of trial and error it. And also, to make the lofting process a little bit easier, I extruded just an extra piece here, as you saw there, just to get a bottom profile there, so that it would sort of have that twist, as you see in the shield a little bit, and then be able to have an easy profile to loft from, and then get a good loft model from that. So here I am just messing around with the lines, trying to get the depth right, and getting the model to be correct with the loft, and then just correcting, and lots of correcting going on as I am trying to learn and figure out which loft would work best based off of the results from the loft itself. And so, finally making some progress, I have now just trying to figure out which how to best model this base, which I figured out relatively quickly, as it was at the bottom of the shield, where it's a little bit more on the aligned with one of the already preset faces, so that was pretty easy to make. And again, here I am trying to copy over the loft to the same side, but then I learned after this that I could actually just loft from, or that I could just mirror the body from one side to the next, and then create that symmetry, and then not have to worry about creating symmetry manually. So you'll see me deleting actually the lines there, and then you see me here trying out the mirror, and it is working very fantastically with the full model outside of the shield already in place here. So here now I'm trying to get the middle of the shield, which was a little bit more tough, because not only did I have to line it up with the already preset model that I have already created, the outside frame is what I'm calling it. It's the outside frame, and trying to make it flush with not only that, but also make it so that it pops out, because this shield is, with every shield, it's sort of got that ovular sort of look to it, and then matching it with that internal shape there, where it sort of curves in, and then it has like a divot point, and then it curves out sort of like a bracket, and matching it to that, and then creating a depth to it was a bit of a challenge. So there is a lot of like messing around with the model and the lines to just get this thinking model correct. And it was a bit of a hassle, but through lots of just messing with it and just fiddling with it, I finally got the correct look that I was aiming for, and then it was a matter of lining it up with the rest of the model after that. As you can see here, I'm trying to line it up so that the loft is flush with the rest of the model, and it has a sort of flat back to the shield, but also give it a little bit of that lumpiness, as you also can tell from the side view. You can also pause the video just when I get to a side view to just look at it, that it has a little bit of a bumpiness there, and I'm trying to match that, but also create a smoothness along the back, so that it is just smooth, and it looks more like a shield crafted by a master smith. And so here I'm trying to match not only the first loft that I did on the middle, but I'm also trying to get it to curve inwards so that it is flush with the rest of the frame here, which worked very well in my favor actually, and helped create that flush look. So next up was creating this centerpiece in the top section, and this was a bit of a challenge because it had a sort of cross section going on here where I had to create everything based. I based everything here off of triangles because it's all like it's got like a pyramid almost look to it. So I wanted to base it off of triangles and trying to angle the planes, the constructed planes, to match that pyramid look was a bit of a tough challenge, and then matching the lofts to those areas was kind of difficult, but learning from my depth and learning from how I did the rest of my model, I was able to get this pretty quickly done, and I was able to even get some depth here. Then another trouble with making it smooth, but that is just the process of getting this done, is just, messing with your lines, messing with your rails, messing with your loft. Just try to get it perfect, as good as it can be. And that's what this is about, is it's taking your idea, putting it into life, learning about where you're going wrong, and then figuring out how to correct where you went wrong, and then implementing that into what you're doing later. So as you can see here, I then did the very center part where it was easy to connect to a very small triangle, and that loft was very easy to do. And then this next part was getting the loft to be this weird this weird shape where it was, again, another pyramid looking shape. Fortunately, it was just a simple triangle loft, and then making it follow a simple path because it's sort of an easy arch, and then matching that on the other side and creating depth alongside that was a bit of a challenge because it was moving around the lines and then making sure that they lined up with the picture that I have here, and then also making sure that it looks pretty good. And here I'm doing a little bit of correcting because I noticed that there was way too much like curviness in my lines, and that caused a little not very good smoothness. Now here I noticed that I had compared my model to the actual image, and I saw that it had like a cross section here that I had completely like ignored, and so I was trying to create a much more smooth model here by subsectioning out the top of the inner model to create a better loft, and then creating a better cross section, which will be corrected after doing a couple more lofts, which you see me trying to do to get these innermost parts of the shield as I model it out with more triangles. So doing these lofts, it's pretty hard. You have to make sure that the lines for your rails are touching both profiles, and if you want it to be pretty smooth, you have to match it with what you already have. So you have to use collinear constraints to make sure that they are flush, and then even that can cause issues, but you just have to play around with it to figure to get the look you're going for. So here I am just creating a pretty long loft here because it's a bit of a thicker piece that goes all the way down and up, and I wanted to start out with just one part of it just to get a feel for it, and then figuring out how I get this like weird looking loft because it's going from like almost a completely sideways profile to a completely like 90-degree angle profile where it's a little bit weird it's a bit of a weird loft. And so I had to figure out how to so here I had to create some extra profiles and mess with the model a little bit more to get that loft that I was looking for. And so there you go, fixing up the issues, making sure that it's nice and flush. You got to make sure that all your lines are collinear, and then making sure it matches the model, and then making sure the loft is the way I want it to be, and then it follows the correct path, and then so it doesn't look super jagged. and trying to make it as smooth as possible. And so now here I am finishing up the last of the lofts, getting it to be smooth with the base of the shield here, and there you go. Fixing up the railing because I noticed that it was not flush, fixing up the profiles because it wasn't matching up with the model, which was really dumb, so I fixed that. And then fixing up the lines, making sure everything's collinear. This is me debugging my entire model because I noticed that I had a bunch of warnings, and I thought to myself, this is probably where everything's going wrong. So I first started out at the very beginning, made sure everything was back to normal and no errors were to be found, corrected everything, and just went through the list of all the warnings or errors, but it was mostly warnings because if it was errors, it wouldn't let me continue, and then fixing them, and it yells at me like, oh, your rails aren't collinear with the profiles, which is a big issue, but here I am fixing it, and soon enough that will get rectified, and you will see a much more fluid model actually by fixing these issues, and even a better flow of the lofted parts, as you will see here momentarily once I finish solving all of the issues that this model had, which was a lot. It had like I was moving around the lines way too much, where that caused some lofting issues, and even some others where it caused the model to be just bad. So I finished that up, and then finished up the second to last loft that I was looking to do, which was from this middle piece down to the outer piece of the frame. So I'm doing the inner frame to the outer frame, creating depth and fluid, and just getting that shield look in there. And you can see here just me trying to get it as flush as possible with the rest of the outer of the shield, which is what I'm really looking for. I'm looking for it to not be super jagged because that can cause issues, and it also isn't very aesthetically pleasing. So I fixed that, got the loft to be right. And what I did was finish up that last loft that went from that connected the shield, the bottom shield upwards to this middle section here, and also connected the very inner piece together, and then get that fluidity going. So there you go. Once I finished that, it was a matter of just creating a mirror, and there you have it. There's the full frame of the shield. And then after that, it was making it so that it was more functional. I can't wield this in the frame, so what I did was I added a centerpiece, which was an oval shape that was going to be extruded so that it touched the frame, and then it extruded backwards a little bit to create some girth to the shield and create some protection if needed. And that's what happens here, where I am just messing around with this oval shape, and the fillet wasn't working out the way I wanted to. So what I did is I actually went way back to the very beginning of my model where I created this, and then did all of the extrusions and fillets before I even made the model. And then you see me here, and then lofting it in so that I can have a space to create handles, which you see me creating here, where I can put my arm through and then grab on the other side to bolster it to my body. And so this was pretty easy to do. All you have to do is just make it so that it revolves around a line right against it, and then go across to the other side, and boom, there you have it. That's the shield. So the last bits of the shield that I will want to be creating is the rocks, as you saw in the image, and then finishing it out from there, and also splicing it up to make it to be 3D printable. But there you have it. That's my shield. So thank you for watching, and I hope you get into 3D modeling, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I can do a slow-mo a slower drive-by of everything that I did here. If you so please, it will be a bit of a longer video. So thanks. I really hope you enjoyed. This is my passion. I am an engineer after all. I love to do this 3D modeling and then putting it on my 3D printer to put it into real life, bringing it to life. So I hope to put that passion into you if I can. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.